Welcome to Charts Today. I'm here on Manly Beach in Australia. That's where I'm staying at the moment. It's absolutely glorious here, beautiful sunny day, and just coming for a quick swim before I get down and look at the charts. Okay, so I'm at my desk. It's about 5:30 in the morning UK time, so markets haven't opened yet in the UK. We're coming to the end of the day here in Australia. Interesting to see the dollar index. This is the daily and the 60-minute chart. How the dollar index has actually fallen back away. That's quite significant. So we are seeing that that move that we saw on the sort of Venezuela situation has unwound. So it's really quite interesting. And then there's a move, a little reaction, and then a move lower. Not producing a target on that time scale, but really quite significant. And we are coming back below the cloud. Dollar, of course, if we look at the daily chart, we saw last year that the dollar was really had this big move down, 9% fall, and then went sideways. And normally you would expect move sideways, another move down. So the longer term picture for the dollar isn't great. So we just do need to be aware of that. Looking at other things, of course, I mentioned yesterday the Chinese currency was actually just nudging 2-year highs. A dollar buys less yuan, if you like. That's bounced off that low point. So that is significant. And if we look at I was on a call yesterday to clients in India, and again, just a surprise to see the dollar strength against the rupee. So even though the dollar is falling, that's the rupee is even weaker, and we have seen some currencies such as South African rand, gold being a factor there, has actually, we see here, remember that is dollar falling against the rand. The rand is buying more dollars. Those are the price targets, and we're heading to those price targets on the rand. So that's quite key. I'm actually using, obviously, Updata. I'm running here on Refinitiv Workspace. You can run Updata on Bloomberg, and I use the targets on Bloomberg as well, and on TradingView. So you can get the targets on TradingView as well. So it's really quite easy to get them where you want. So that's the key factor of using the targets. So if we look at what else has been going on, bond yields. If you've watched my year-end summary for LSEG, you'll know that I've been pretty bullish bond yields. If we look at the daily chart here, we see we haven't yet activated that upside target yet for bond yields. But if we look at the 30-year yield, that has activated an upside target. And I mentioned yesterday that mini sort of reverse inverted head and shoulders. So that is quite key, and we're seeing yields up again. And if we look at I mentioned yesterday Aussie bond yields. They're looking stronger as well. We've got upside targets here, and on the 60-minute chart, if we look at the Aussie yields, we've got upside targets 4.91, 4.97. So interest rates being priced in Oz, so that's really quite key. Looking at the Hang Seng, that's up. We're seeing most Asian markets up. So you're looking quite strong, holding those gains and pushing to the target. We mentioned yesterday that European markets look pretty strong. The Nasdaq relatively weak. It just hasn't actually managed to perform. So that's really quite key there. That we're seeing that the Nasdaq is not actually had that Santa rally, and that's also quite key. We will look at the energy mix in a minute, and I will run through some stocks. We can see that energy was significantly lower, European gas down 5%. I will cover that in the morning call in a couple of hours' time for clients. Looking at some of the metals, we see aluminium, that was one that we talked about, really rocketing there. So that's quite key. Looking at aluminium and zinc also up. We're seeing quite big starts to the year in a lot of these products. So really quite significant there. That's the daily, the 60-minute jumping higher. We have seen most softs are generally a little bit weaker. I've been doing work down here with a sugar trading firm, watching that sugar contract falling. Testing that 14 level is going to be quite key. New downside target there on the 60-minute chart. So that's also significant, suggesting we will go back to 14 and maybe a little bit below. So that's really quite key as well. As I mentioned, I'll cover the energy mix, and we saw here crude oil lower. Looking at that on my Bloomberg, we've seen that lower as well. And we saw German power down 2% yesterday. I mean, UK gas was down 6% despite the freezing cold weather. So really quite interesting that we are seeing energy flowing across the board there. If we look at stocks, Nvidia came out with an announcement yesterday, their joint venture with Mercedes. Be very interesting to see. They were up a little bit in after hours, but interestingly, Nvidia still reached an upside target, but still looking toppy if we look at the daily chart there. So really quite key that we are seeing that lower move there. So Nvidia needs to produce even better results than the market can expect to go higher, and it is looking toppy. And again, that was one of my 10 calls. If you go to the Updata website, updata.co.uk, and look at the past wholesale seminars that I give the London Stock Exchange, I did actually give my 10 calls just before Christmas, and you can follow those there. And one of those was Nvidia. So really quite interesting. And all in all, markets pretty mixed. We are seeing commodities rising, of course, gold and silver back on the move. Silver was up 3.5% today, so really significant moves there. Really not signs that it's a bubble. Already potentially going to close higher than a previous high, so really significant there as well. Upside targets in train. So we're seeing safe havens, precious metals. We're seeing metals, softs not looking as strong. Stocks pretty mixed, and of course the last one is Bitcoin. I asked about Bitcoin all the time. We did see Bitcoin up quite strongly yesterday, but it's hit resistance at around this 94,000 level. It's hit that previous resistance level. These are Linton levels. You find those on TradingView or on Bloomberg, and we're not quite getting to these targets yet on the 60-minute chart. If we go lower, we activate a big downside target on the daily chart. Again, it was one of my calls for this year. That's it for today. Have a great day in Europe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.